Hello and welcome to Slow Night, Ancient Tales. Tonight we continue with the 8th episode of the classic novel, The Tale of Lee Dae-bong. We find Ae-hwang, now risen to the rank of Grand Commander, commanding her troops with quiet authority, standing firm to uphold military discipline even in the face of an old, deep-seated grudge. Just as our heroine walks forward with unshaken resolve through the roughest of storms, may your own tomorrow stand just as firm. Settle in tonight and let this old story carry you gently along. She named Han Nung as vanguard commander, Kwang Sin as commander of the left flank, Zhang Guan as commander of the right flank, Zhou Sun as commander of the rear guard, Ho Sin as the vermilion bird of the south, and Han Tong as the black tortoise of the north. Han Ju was made master strategist, Ma Meng-deok the artillery commander, and Nam Ju the army secretary. The Grand Commander then went before the throne to take her leave of the Emperor, and His Majesty personally accompanied her to the gates of the camp. The Grand Commander summoned Army Secretary Nam Ju, had the great gates of the camp thrown wide open, welcomed His Majesty to a seat upon the command platform, and presented the formation of the troops for his review. Then she addressed the Emperor, saying, "Though the Big Dipper has but 7 stars, beneath it lie the 28 constellations that mark the turning of the seasons. So too must the officials of a nation function. Yet it grieves me that so many of our court ministers know only how to cultivate themselves and manage their own households, with too few capable of truly governing the realm and bringing peace beneath heaven." The Minister of War, Jin Tae-yol, is a man of both literary and martial accomplishment, of dignified bearing, one well suited to overseeing the hardships of military campaign. I humbly ask your Majesty's permission to have him serve under me. The Emperor replied, "It is my own lack of virtue that has emboldened these bandits, forcing me to send my Grand Commander 1,000 miles to battle against my wishes. How then could I refuse you a single official?" And with that, he granted her request at once and returned to the palace. The Grand Commander immediately drafted an official summons, and calling forth the vanguard commander Han Nung, ordered him to bring Jin Tae-yol before her. Han Nung received the order, went to Tae-yol's residence, and delivered the summons. Now Minister of War Jin Tae-yol was a man of considerable arrogance. Opening the sealed letter, he found it read, "I, Jang Hae-un, Halim Scholar, Vice Minister of Rights, Grand Commander and General of the Army and Cavalry, hereby place Minister of War Jin Tae-yol under my command. As the fortunes of our nation have turned unfavorable, and foreign enemies have risen to disturb these troubled times, our nation's fate hangs by the gravest of threads. Though it is beyond my station, I have received the Marshal's banner and acts of authority, along with the seal of Grand Commander, and now travel 1,000 miles to the battlefield. To serve the realm with utmost loyalty is the duty of every true man. I therefore appoint you as quartermaster and chief supervisor. Upon reading this summons, present yourself before me at once. Should you delay, you shall be dealt with under military law." Reading the summons, Tae-yol's fury rose to the heavens. He rushed before the Emperor, recounted what had happened, and presented the letter in outrage. The Emperor was silent for a long while, and then said, "Is there any among the court officials who could match Hae-un's authority? I cannot say there is. Go then and see this through as best you can." At this, there was not a single minister in the court who did not tremble with fear. With no other choice, Tae-yol bid farewell to his household, donned his armor, and followed Han Nung to the gates of the camp to report for duty. The Grand Commander, seated high upon the command platform, summoned the artillery commander Ma Meng-deok, arrayed the 5 colored banners according to their proper directions, and set the military formation in place. She then ordered the left flank commander, Joseon, to fling open the great gates and bring Taeyol before her command falling like autumn frost. Joseon received the order, brought Taeyol in, and had him kneel before the command platform. The Grand Commander, her anger rising, declared, "In days past you held military power and grew exceedingly arrogant. Now that I have received the Emperor's mandate to command this great army and establish military order, how dare you still show such insolence? Only now do you present yourself before me. You clearly hold military discipline in contempt and mean to belittle me. I shall have you beheaded, that the others may learn to obey the law." She then commanded the officers on either side to take him outside the gates and execute him, declaring that anyone who dared defy her order would share his fate. Not a single officer or soldier among the vast ranks failed to tremble in fear. Taeyol prostrated himself and pleaded, "This old servant has reached the age of 50. Of what use could such an old body be to you now? I beg the Grand Commander's mercy. Give me but one task to prove my worth, and I shall carry it out with all my heart. Please spare what little life I have left." And as he begged, the other officers, too, pleaded with her all at once, saying, "We beg the Grand Commander to reconsider. We have not yet even faced the enemy in battle. Please show mercy." Each and every one of them pleaded earnestly. The Grand Commander held back her anger and said, "I ought to behead you to establish military discipline, but for the sake of my officers pleading, I shall show you mercy. Know this, however, should you offend again after this, no plea shall spare you a second time." Yet she would not let the matter pass entirely without consequence, and so she had him struck 10 blows with a rod before releasing him. She then admitted him once more, appointing him quartermaster, and named Sol One as chief supervisor to oversee the great army as it began its march. The Grand Commander led her great army into the palace to take her formal leave of the Emperor. His Majesty personally led the full court of officials to see her off 10 miles beyond the city, and taking her hand himself, raised a cup and offered her 3 rounds of wine, saying, "Achieve great victory on the battlefield 1,000 miles from here, and return safely, that you may ease this troubled heart of mine." And so with the deepest reluctance he bid her farewell. As he surveyed the might of her forces, the grandeur of the formation, and the flawless precision with which the officers and soldiers advanced and withdrew, he thought that even Han Shin of old could not have matched it. White banners and yellow axes, dragon pennants and phoenix flags, long spears and gleaming blades blotted out the sun and moon. The roar of gongs and battle cries shook heaven and earth. Wooden clappers and bugles echoed back from the very mountains and rivers. The Grand Commander, clad fully in armor, held in her right hand a 7-foot sword for beheading traitors, and in her left the commander's tally, giving orders to her officers as she sat, poised and composed astride her 1,000-league steed, urging the great march onward. That's tonight's story. The wisdom and quiet majesty of a Grand Commander who, even in the face of an old and deep-seated grudge, sets aside personal feeling to uphold military law and the greater cause. It settles over us as deep and weighty as the dark of night itself. Let the sound of great banners rippling in the wind be your lullaby tonight, and let go of every heavy burden you carry. Have a quiet, gentle night. Sleep well.